Hi, this is Chase Aguirre, along with my co-host Mike Urtaza, and this is the Amateur Fanboy Podcast. This is my exclusive interview with Brandon ScoopB Robinson for the Amateur Fan Pod, and be sure to listen afterwards for some great football news.
With Mike.
This is Chase Aguirre, and I'm with ScoopB, the one and only ScoopB, the biggest name, one of the biggest names when it comes to sports reporting. Scoop, how are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Hey, you got to call me Brandon ScoopB Robinson. You got to make sure that you all follow me on Twitter first and foremost at ScoopB, Instagram, Scoop_B, and you have to subscribe to the ScoopB Radio Podcast. ScoopB Radio Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn app, Stitcher app, or you could simply visit ScoopBRadio.com. ScoopB Radio had 3.5 million streams last year. It's a big deal.
So what's the story behind ScoopB and how everything got started for you?
You mean where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I had a radio show with the Nets when I was 12 years old called Net Slamming Planet. It was a radio show that was on New York radio. I did it with Albert King, who is a retired NBA legend. He's the brother of Bernard King that played for the Knicks.
Yes, sir.
And I did it with him. Evan Roberts, who was on Sports Radio 66 WFAN here in New York City, and a woman named Lynn Wilson. And the executive producer of the show was Chris Carino, who's the Nets play-by-play guy now on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. And I did the show for 2 years, was broadcast on the radio, was featured on NBA Inside Stuff with Ahmad Rashad. It had all this press. You know, when I was a kid, I did it. I used to be around. I actually was around Woj when I was a kid. Woj used to cover the Nets for the Bergen Record.
That's incredible.
And then I knew Chris Broussard. He covered the Nets and the Knicks for the New York Times. And I used to see Stephen A. In the Sixers locker room. He used to cover the Sixers for the Philadelphia Inquirer whenever they would come to town. And so,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was 97 through like 99. And I did the show for 2 years, and then I went back. I was in 7th and 8th grade, and then in 9th grade, I went back to high school. I was a normal kid. But that was my early start. When I was a kid, I did Net Slamming Planet. The guys on the team were like Sam Cassell, Jason Williams, Kendall Gill, Kerry Kittles, and John Calipari was the head coach of the Nets at the time.
Oh, that's an interesting story, man. That's incredible. It sounds like you've come a long way from then. That's for damn sure.
I just got sexier, that's all.
So I got some questions for you. Obviously, this whole Lakers Anthony Davis deal didn't work out as the Lakers would have hoped. Right. But my question for you is, what are your thoughts on how this might play out in the offseason? We've heard Kyrie might leave the Celtics. We've heard that the Celtics maybe won't even offer Jason Tatum in a possible deal. How do you think that would impact possibly what the Lakers could offer going forward this summer?
Well, I mean, when you look at what the Pelicans were looking to get from the Lakers, I tweeted it and I posted it on my Instagram as well. Dell Demson, the Pelicans wanted Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, Zubac, Hart, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, as well as a 2019 unprotected first-round pick, a 2020 first-round pick swap, a 2021 unprotected first-round pick, a 2022 first-round pick swap, a 2023 unprotected first-round pick, and then in addition to that, the Pelicans also wanted a 2019 and 2021 second-round pick, and the Lakers were not with it. So I think now that you've seen how much the Pelicans wanted, what you're going to now see is, okay, Davis said that the team that he wanted to go to was the Lakers. All these other teams are only looking at him as a rental, so you're going to have some drop off. The Pelicans, and the Celtics could talk all day. I can tell you that in a conversation with a league source that I spoke with, the package that the Celtics are willing to give, I'm told, would be Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Williams, a 2019 Memphis first-round pick, a 2019 Sacramento first-round pick, and a 2021 Celtics first-round pick for Anthony Davis. And what you're going to find is the Celtics don't necessarily have to give up Tatum.
Right, of course.
And so you start figuring, okay, will they give up Jaylen Brown, etc. And then also, what you'll start to see is other teams looking to make moves. I reported the morning of the trade deadline that the Denver Nuggets made an offer to the Pelicans that they declined. You'll see teams like the 76ers maybe try to make a team, or even a surprise team, like not really a surprise team, but the Chicago Bulls, who have some assets. They could make an offer. But then what you're going to find is that, teams may be willing to make that offer and to potentially get Davis, and the Pelicans may want it, but then you're going to have to do some convincing, a la Paul George his first year in OKC, to resign, or Kawhi Leonard. Hypothetically, Leonard could walk. But one of the advantages that Leonard does have, in addition to hitting game winners, is that you have the potential to actually be the first non-U.S. team to win an NBA championship. If the Toronto Raptors actually go to the finals this year. And the Raptors added pieces. They added meat on the bone. They added Powell. Excuse me, I keep saying Powell. Mark Gasol.
Oh, no, right?
Yeah.
That's hard. I can mix them up.
Yeah, you cannot. One has a thicker beard and looks more like he could be in Aladdin playing Gaston, and the other one is a little skinnier.
There you go.
Yeah, but when you look at that situation with Toronto comparatively, like, they have some convincing to do, because it's not a foregone conclusion that Kawhi will stay in Toronto. But then, in the Davis situation, okay, you make a move. So over the summer, the Pelicans are going to offer him an extension. He'll likely decline if he sticks to what he's saying. And then the bidding war begins, because you don't want to lose anything for him. So it's kind of like Melo in 2011. This is what this Anthony Davis situation reminds me of, because you basically let the Nets punk the Knicks into offering the whole house to get Carmelo Anthony.
Which is the exact same route the Lakers were trying to go, as it seems.
Exactly. So it's like the Celtics could become the Knicks in that situation, and the Nets will sit and taunt, hypothetically, at the role of the Lakers. Right. And in the long term, you look at the Nets and the Knicks, the Nets are the better team in New York City right now. Years later.
They definitely are. Yeah, they're definitely going more forward than the Knicks are. So my next question would be, we all watched that the Lakers and the Philly game. That the rotations towards the end of that game by Luke Walton would be maybe considered less than ideal, especially not staggering the lineup like he probably should have. Now, my question to you is, do you think Luke Walton is the coach for the Lakers going forward, or do you think the Lakers would be more inclined to move on to like a Jason Kidd or a Mark Jackson or a more different option maybe next offseason after they figure out what they're doing in free agency?
Well, I mean, I reported in October, November, one of those months are like together. It was before Thanksgiving, that a leak source shared with, first of all, Chris Broussard reported that Mark Jackson would be a person of interest. You look at Mark Jackson, you look at how things ended in Golden State. Mm-hmm. He helped build a championship winner. Right. Mark Jackson is represented by Clutch, LeBron, the agency that Rich Paul operates and represents Anthony Davis, LeBron, and more. Markieff Morris, if I'm not mistaken, is represented by
sir.
Well,
yes, sir.
Kentavious Caldwell Pope. I could go on and on in a day. So Mark Jackson is a guy. I can tell you that right before the Cavaliers hired Tyronn Lue, there was a deep interest within the Cavaliers organization, I'm told, to hire Mark Jackson.
So that would make sense. That would make sense that he'd be connected to the Lakers now that LeBron's there.
Yeah, but then you look at also Jason Kidd.
Right.
I can tell you that I spoke to a couple of these sources that, Jason Kidd and LeBron wanted to play together when they were in the league.
Really?
Yeah. Jason Kidd and LeBron have a very good relationship.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. They have a very good relationship. And for Jason and LeBron to coach player relationship work, or would be kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess it would be a close second to having not played together. I mean, they also played against each other in the NBA Finals, so
right.
There's a respect that they both have for each other, etc. Jason Kidd grew up looking up to Magic, and more. So the Jason Kidd thing it works too. Another intrigue to me would be the notion of, okay, if you decide you don't want to keep Luke Walton, what about Magic becoming the head coach?
That's a very interesting topic, and I've heard a lot of people, mainly on my Lakers Twitter followers, that bring that up. That maybe at one point Magic Johnson could just say, you know what, screw this, fire Luke, and just take the helm himself.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you like this. I am very, very, very cool with NBA Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas. We talked on the phone a couple months ago, and we just talked about life. We talked about, I guess, scouting philosophies and just people, places, and things.
Okay.
And I think Isaiah Thomas is one of the smartest basketball minds in the NBA.
Without a doubt.
And I'll add, I think Magic Johnson is too. And I think one of the things that Magic Johnson has not been able to do in his career, he tried his hand at coaching and playing at the same time. It didn't really work. Bill Russell tried. He was a lot more successful. I feel as though Magic, coming from the Pat Riley school of coaching, or from just being a player under him, one thing Magic wasn't successful in doing is coaching. And I think Magic Johnson does have an eye for talent, and I do think he has the ability to lead. He's just an influential guy. That would be an interesting. The Lakers would also save some money if he became the coach as well as the team president. So
you're paying him the same to do both things, right?
Pretty much. So, I think you need Rob Pelinka and Magic at the same time, because the thing about Pelinka is Pelinka knows the CBA, Pelinka knows trades, and Pelinka has relationships with Kobe, Kevin Durant, and more. And so you know that he knows the game. He knows how to play the game. He knows the interconnectedness and the ins and outs. So I think, they can work together to make that happen. I mentioned John Calipari. When John Calipari was the head coach of the New Jersey Nets, he was also vice president of basketball operations. Right. And he was responsible for drafting Keith Van Horn. He was part of that process to trade to get Sam Cassell. If you remember, it was about a 3-team trade with the Nets, the Houston Rockets, the Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, and I believe the Dallas Mavericks. And, he knows those on-the-job experiences help. And Magic being a player, Magic being team president, Magic, being in the front office and an owner, he knows it, and he has help. So I think being a coach would definitely bring credibility to that team, because LeBron respects him.
Definitely. So you brought up Kevin Durant and his relationship with Clutch and with Magic. Well, maybe not necessarily Clutch, but Magic. So there's a lot of talk that Kevin Durant and Kyrie could be teaming up in New York. What are your thoughts on where Kevin Durant might end up in the free agency if he does indeed split town and leave the Warriors?
Well, I think I've gone on record and said that the Lakers are a team that Kevin Durant is very interested in. And when on record, I said a source told me that that's where he wants to go. While I put that on record, I can say to you that there will be other teams that will be suited for Kevin Durant. The Knicks make sense for this reason. Royal Ivey is an assistant coach for the New York Knicks under head coach David Fizdale. And Kevin Durant and Royal Ivey were teammates in Oklahoma City, and they're very close. If I'm not mistaken, Kevin Durant is supposed to be at Royal Ivey's wedding.
Okay.
I don't want to talk too much about it because I have some privileged information in that regard, but what I will tell you is some believe that Royal Ivey was put in that situation to recruit Kevin Durant to come to the Knicks.
That is very interesting.
Go ahead.
Oh, keep going. No, keep going. You're good.
As it relates to Kyrie Irving, what I will tell you is he is a guy from West Orange, New Jersey, a stone's throw from the skyline of Manhattan. And I will tell you that even when he was in Cleveland, he raved about New York. He raved about northern New Jersey.
Right.
And, there's ties there. He grew up watching the New Jersey Nets that were led by Jason Kidd. Told me in an interview years ago, it was a privilege to watch Jason Kidd play. Now, that has nothing to do with the free agency, but I know that he was a fan of the Kidd, Martin, Jefferson era of brand of Nets basketball. Him living in West Orange. Byron Scott, who coached the Nets team at the time, would later coach Kyrie with the Cavaliers. He lived in nearby Livingston, New Jersey, which neighbors West Orange. His father is also from the South Bronx, as is his godfather, Rod Strickland. And I know that as much as the Knicks sounds good, you have to take Kyrie at his word when he's made statements in October that if you'll have me, I'll come back. And his ties to Boston are deep even before he stepped foot in Boston. His dad played at Boston University, and his dad had a tryout for the Boston Celtics after he graduated. It didn't work out. He ended up playing overseas, and Kyrie was born in Australia. Kyrie also mentors a kid at Harvard named Bryce Aiken. He's been mentoring him since high school. And so his ties run deep to Boston. Obviously, the Nets and the Knicks are New York and their home, and but at the same time, the Lakers sounds good because of the relationship he and LeBron have. I think that Boston, the Nets, and the Knicks are a better fit. But I also know Kyrie has a good relationship with Greg Popovich, and the San Antonio Spurs would be a good fit also.
That's interesting. I did not know that he had sorry about that. A good relationship with the Spurs and Greg Popovich. That's interesting. So my next question, we heard it come out today that Magic Johnson once again opened his mouth about Ben Simmons and possibly mentoring him this offseason. What are your thoughts on how all those tampering charges came about and what Magic could possibly do in the future to possibly not tamper as much?
I think things get difficult as you are so interconnected as a player and an executive and an influencer.
Right.
I mean that because I've never said this publicly on any podcast, but my daddy was a Lakers fan. I didn't grow up a Lakers fan, and so I knew about Magic Johnson. I knew he was a 6'9" point guard. I knew that I knew what Showtime was. I knew who Byron Scott was, and so you grow up hearing about these things. You know about purple and gold. You know that the purple and gold is the truth. You know stories about Pat Riley. So then when you become an adult or you're a kid and you're in school and you see guys like Penny Hardaway, Jalen Rose, Scottie Pippen, Jamal Mashburn, who are all in that Magic mold,
right?
You really study it. And in the age of YouTube, it's undeniable. You'll watch tape of Magic Johnson.
Exactly.
Over the years, Magic has been a broadcaster. Magic has been an owner of teams. He's owned theaters. He's owned Starbucks in Harlem.
All right.
It's a lot. And so I think Ben Simmons, I would like to say, I won't say I think, I would like to say that Ben Simmons was looking at it from a perspective of, wow, he's a tall point guard like me. But then that's where the legalities and the relationships to different teams get into it. And I think had Magic not made those comments about Paul George in the past, or even just the whole Anthony Davis thing been a thing, I think it would have been a shot there. I personally think it was innocent. And I think sometimes Magic is honest to a fault.
Right. I would 100% agree with that.
Because he's so personable.
He is.
Magic meant any harm, but I also think in today's 24-hour news coverage, sometimes you gotta say less just to preserve yourself. And it's
without a doubt.
Yeah, I look at that situation with Magic. Sometimes you just gotta preserve it and just handle it behind closed doors, or just play dumb. If reporters are asking about it, just shut the hell up. Sometimes it comes back to bite you in the ass, and you weren't even trying to do anything. I don't think Magic meant any harm here.
That I agree. I don't think he was trying as much to tamper as much as he was just trying to be honest. But like you said, sometimes when you're the big dog, you gotta know when to keep your mouth shut and know when to keep in-house things in-house.
Yeah, and I also think you're the Lakers, so you have a target on your back. You're not even the champions. The Warriors are the champions, and the Lakers have a bigger target on their back than the Warriors do.
And that's crazy. And that's how big the Laker brand is. Yeah. So my next question, going back to free agency and potential targets that the Lakers have, you brought up KD, you brought up Kawhi. What other targets, if the Lakers were to say swing and miss on Kawhi and Kyrie and KD, do you think they could possibly get to come to LA to entice LeBron, obviously, to keep the team going?
That's a difficult one, I think, because they struck out with Leonard and they struck out with Paul George. I think the Lakers purposely gave these 1-year deals or these short-term deals and these bird rights to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Man, when I grow up, I want to be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope because he's getting a big payday and right. It pays to be under clutch. But to answer your question, I mean, you if you can't get KD, if you can't get Anthony Davis, I mean, it's going to come down to, can you still swing to get a Vucevic in the summertime if they can't get anybody else? Can you swing to get Bradley Beal in some way, shape, or form? But I also do think, honestly, sometimes it doesn't hurt to maintain what you already have that got you there.
Of course.
And I feel like if you, I'll use this in New York Yankees term. Could you imagine Brian Cashman, the general manager or president of the Yankees, trading Derek Jeter, Andy Pettitte, Bernie Williams, and all those guys just to get Alex Rodriguez? And maybe, and this is those guys in their prime before they became who they were.
Right.
You're literally trading your farm system to get a star. And believe you me, I do think that Anthony Davis is he's a once in a generation type player. I mean, legitimately, he's considered a power forward center with guard skills, can block a shot. He can shoot the three. He's like a Porzingis and a Karl Anthony Towns in one.
Right.
When you look at the Lakers in the 90s when they got Shaq, he was a generational guy. But he left Orlando and made that move. I feel like the Lakers are trying to have that effect. It just doesn't translate the right way. Because even with Shaq had at least went to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, he did. He went 3 years. Was it 3 or 4? 3. They won.
I'm talking about even before he got to LA. He went to the finals with the Orlando Magic. And
that's right. I forgot. I totally forget about that. He definitely did go a couple years before he left, right?
Yeah. So it's I like Anthony Davis. I don't have a problem with him, but I feel like when Shaq was making that move, there was already a craze about him. He had Pepsi commercials. He had, he had rap albums with Biggie Smalls. He rapped with Jay-Z. There was a buzz to Shaq that does not quite translate with Davis, but Davis is mild-mannered and quiet, so it's different. And I don't want to take anything away from who he is as a player, but I still feel like it's just different because, Davis, how many times did he go to the finals? Excuse me, not the finals, to the playoffs, twice?
Twice, and then I don't even think they won a series, or if they did, they won one series.
It's different. I like Davis. I want to see him successful, but, even with Kareem leaving Milwaukee to go to the Lakers, he had been to the finals already.
Right.
It's different.
Most definitely. So the All-Star break's coming up, and the Lakers aren't looking as good as LeBron probably would think they would have by now. But we can, sorry about that. But we can also attribute that possibly to Lonzo's injury, LeBron missing 17 games, and completely coming apart after that big Christmas Day win against Golden State. My question is, how do you think the Lakers, if Lonzo comes back healthy and they start rolling off some wins, do you think they can be a threat, maybe not to the Warriors, but a threat to at least possibly make a decent playoff run this year?
I think if the Lakers come back healthy for the second half of the season and they kill it in the second half of the season and they make it to the playoffs, I think that they are a competitive matchup against the Golden State Warriors if they don't meet them in earlier rounds. And if they meet them in the conference finals, I think that they could give the Warriors a run for their money.
I would agree with that. I would 100% agree with that. And hey, I really appreciate you being on our first podcast, and I really appreciate your insight. And good luck with the rest of your stuff the rest of the way. Have fun at the All-Star break, and hopefully maybe we can get you on an episode sometime soon.
We're doing it in the playoffs, part 2.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Scoop.
My man, I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Later. My man, thank you.
Today is Monday, February 11th, and here's what's going on in the sporting world. Kyler Murray has decided to pick NFL over baseball.
Woo-woo!
Strictly. Yes, Mike. And I'm not sure how he should feel about that.
Well, has potentially a 5'10" quarterback ever succeeded? Well, we'll see.
Well, Russell Wilson and Drew Brees were pretty successful.
At 6 foot.
You can, that's close enough. 5'10",
close enough.
A couple inches.
It really depends. But the Super Bowl interview he had was a bad look. Really. He really should have said that there's going to be a date and within the next few weeks where I'm going to actually announce what our plans are. And that's pretty much would have made himself look way better.
And then he was on the Dan Patrick show, and he just wouldn't answer anything.
That's what I mean, the Dan Patrick show. Yeah, it was that one.
Yeah, he wouldn't answer any questions, and he made everything uncomfortable for everybody around him.
But moving on, Kyle Murray, he's a talent.
He's definitely talented. I would argue he's probably the most talented quarterback in this draft.
Do I think he made the best decision? Long term, probably not. I don't really. To me, I really see him as a better Pat White. He has better arm, but the size and the build is exactly the same.
I would argue that his athleticism is up there with probably any elite quarterback in the NFL right now. If he can, if he can build himself a little bit more and get a little bit more strength to him and build that strength, that dude won't be fragile. And like I said, he can throw the damn ball.
Yeah, my only concern, like I said, can he take a hit? And batted balls are going to be an issue. Look at Pat White. That's the same example. That guy could not take a hit when he was drafted with the Dolphins. And that's exactly I can potentially see Kyler Murray going to.
But does Kyler Murray have the same aspects to his, does he have the same feel to his body? Did he get hurt at Oklahoma? Because I don't think he really did get hurt at Oklahoma.
No, he never did at Oklahoma.
There's no don't get me wrong.
History.
He could definitely have a similar career to Pat White, and that's probably cutting him low. But his upside is huge. Like I said, Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, those guys don't have the arm that Kyler Murray possesses, and they do not have the run talent. Wilson does.
It's kind of hard for me to. Well, when he was younger, he did, but it's kind of hard for me to compare. Besides the size, I don't know if Russell Wilson can throw the ball anywhere on the field.
The dude's a magician. He's like Tony Romo.
But it's going to be. We'll see how it comes in the combine here in a couple weeks, 2.5 weeks. He'll be there, Kyle Murray.
Does he have a pro day set?
He'll have a pro day at Oklahoma.
Okay.
Whenever I'm not sure at this exact moment what the date is, but he will have one.
About that yet? Yeah. Yeah, he'll definitely have some proving to do at the combine, without a doubt. He'll have to prove himself. He'll have to prove that he's an able quarterback.
Yep. And now, Chase, your favorite player just signed with the Browns. Kareem Hunt signs a 1-year deal for $1 million.
They signed the dude with the Browns. They signed a kicker, huh?
Yeah, they needed a kicker. No, it's an interesting, add-on to that team because he's basically Nick Chubb.
What? Here's my thing. For the Browns, you do have Nick Chubb, but for the Browns, they're finally getting back to what makes them a winning football team. You got Baker Mayfield. You got Jarvis Landry. You just got rid of Josh Gordon, so you got rid of that headache. why would you want to bring another headache, another guy with a freaking potential suspension looming?
I mean, he's gonna get suspended for 6 to 12 games around there.
And at the end of the day, are you like, you'll have his rights, but at the end of the day, how is it gonna look?
Well, it's only a 1-year deal, but it's kind of that's the thing.
Like,
how's it gonna look?
They didn't even wait for his for everything to be
From
decided.
what I understand, Kareem Hunt wanted to sign with a team before Goodell put down the suspension.
Right.
And the thing is, he's going to a team that the GM, Dorsey, had already drafted him in Kansas City. He already did the back work.
Right.
And it's, look, at the end of the day, what he did is completely wrong. You should never hit a woman kickler or anything.
We do not tolerate that here.
Yes, but the guy, he deserves a second chance. And
I'm not at all denying that he deserves a second chance. Every player, I mean, for the record, Ray Rice, if he wasn't completely near the end of his career,
that's the difference.
An awful player.
Ray Rice,
he would have had a second chance, but
if Ray Rice was a 24-year-old running back at the top of his profession, he would have signed. But he was at the back end where Kareem Hunt, that's why he's getting a second chance. Now, do I think if he's gonna be suspended 6 to 10 games, 12 games, so he's really not gonna play that much. That at first really it took my understanding of how's that gonna hurt Nick Chubb. I really think it's gonna hurt Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb's basically gonna get the carries for most of the season.
Strip everything with his domestic violence and all of his history with that aside. At the end of the day, he can definitely be a mentor for Nick Chubb. He definitely can.
Well, yeah.
He's been in the league for a few years. He can handle adversity. He's been on a playoff team.
The good thing is, they'll have he'll be a restricted free agent from my understanding because that would be his third year.
Yes.
So the Browns will actually hold his rights and
that honestly, when I read about that, that's probably where I figured that they were thinking when they signed him. Mm-hmm. If everything goes well and all that, and he does his time and he does his do good and all that and whatnot, then he will at some point be back in the good graces of the league and will be unsuspended. So then that will make for a better backup running back for the Browns. Well, and I see it from that aspect.
Which is insane because he led the league not this year but the year prior in yards.
Right.
He probably would have led the league close to top 5 this year if he wasn't, cut and suspend, or he was on the exempt list.
Oh yeah, no, he was I think in top 4 for rushing yards, right behind Zeke, Saquon,
and really
James Conner.
Could the Chiefs have beaten the Patriots if Kareem Hunt was playing? And that's a tough one because that defense was terrible. That
defense was awful, and Damian Williams did a darn good job in those playoffs.
It's true, but he's not Kareem Hunt, even though they did re-sign him. But
I don't.
Could it have affected maybe a game at the end of the season? Maybe they would have lost. They lost to the Chargers. They might have won a game that might have given them.
Could they have won a regular season game that may have gave them?
Well, no, but they're already a home field advantage.
Yeah, they already had home. So at the end of the day, that
I don't know if that is true, but at the end of the day, he's going to a good team now.
Yes.
Where he doesn't need to actually be the lead dog, which I think I was surprised he went there. But
who was his backup in Kansas City? Was Damian Williams really the backup? It was Spencer Ware.
Huh? No, Spencer Ware, who came. Remember, Spencer Ware was the starter when he got drafted, and then he tore his ACL, and then he was the backup this season.
Yeah, that's right.
But to move on, our last final remarks on that, I think Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are basically the same player. Duke Johnson, I saw a lot of rumors throwing out. People are saying, "Oh, now they can trade him," but Duke Johnson, they need to keep Duke Johnson. He's a completely different player than those two.
And Nick Chubb are the same player. You keep Duke Johnson,
which probably helps the players be keep Chubb and healthy and effective. And the good thing is Duke Johnson can be lined up at slot. He can be all over the field. He doesn't need to be at running back. He's a receiver, basically.
You can put him outside. You can put him in the wildcat. You can put him basically wherever you want.
I'm actually surprised when they traded Carlos Hyde that he didn't get more opportunities.
I forgot about Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, well, that's another subject for our potential cut list. But moving on, today Eric Reed had signed for a 3-year, $22 million contract. I'm not sure what the guarantees are.
But I thought the NFL was blackballing him.
Well, he's. I don't know. I don't want to go into that issue.
I'm here to be devil's advocate over here. I'm here to bounce things off of you.
Well, he got drug tested today.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, after he signed, they're like, "Oh, we got to drug test you," even though
he was
the
getting drug tested,
and the
NFLPA
said that wasn't actual.
Weren't they drug testing him like once a week?
It was like every. It was like every 3 days.
He would come out with an Instagram post like, "Yep, I got a drug test today," and
But in the end of the day, I as a Niners fan, if you don't know, I'm a Niners fan, and Chase right here,
I'm a Cowboys
is
fan.
A Cowboys fan. But I love Derek Reed. I actually own his jersey.
No, he's very talented.
Now he did some boneheaded moves last season. He was knocking out players, just trying to cause issues with specific people who are against him, having specific issues, the Eagle safety. At the point. But at the end of the day, I'm happy Eric Reed got his money, and we'll see how he plays this season.
Have you seen the picture of DK Metcalf that's circling the internet?
Man, today, that's crazy. He looks
like he's chiseled out of freaking.
He doesn't look like anything.
He looks like a defensive end.
Yeah, he doesn't look like anything he looked in playing in college. He got way bigger. He was a big dude as it is, but he looks like a defensive end. He looks like a monster.
The NFL might
I'm not drug test him. I'm not sure if the guy next to him is just making him look so much bigger. He might be just a smaller guy, but man,
that's quite the comparison.
If you haven't seen that picture, Marcus Mosier at Marcus_Mosier tweeted saying
this is really good Cowboys follow, by the way. You should give him a follow if you're a Cowboys fan.
This is what DK Metcalf currently looks like ahead of the NFL Combine, and courtesy of Bunky Perkins. And the dude looks like a freaking monster. He does not look like a receiver.
It definitely does not look like a receiver. It looks like he should be playing linebacker or defensive end for an NFL.
But like I said, it could just be the photo must be deceiving. I'm not sure.
Could have just worked out. He could have just been really, really.
Well, the player next to him might just be a lot smaller, and it just makes him look a lot bigger.
That's also true. True.
But that was a great photo. If you haven't seen it, go check it out.
At Marcus Mosier, he's like I said, he's a good Cowboys follow. If you like the Cowboys, you should definitely give him a follow. He knows all things draft. Well, that wraps it up for the first episode of the Amateur Fanboy Podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at AmateurFanPod. And our Instagram will be coming soon, so be on the lookout for that. And thank you all for listening.
Have a good Monday!